If I don't sound the best, please ignore that. I'm not feeling the best. So ignore my nasal voice and raspy throat. Now, when I say Indian emperor, I'm not saying somebody who's inherently from the land of India, but somebody who did rule India for a very long time, and then its descendants ruled India even longer. And the interesting thing about this guy is that today, in modern India especially, he's not very well liked, nor are most of his successors. But in another country, miles away, there are gardens, statues, museums, stamps, holidays named after this guy. And everybody there knows who he is. This came as a shock to me as well because I never thought that in another country, somebody who's ruled India for so long has such a great status and he's so well liked. And it's all for very different reason. So can any one of you guess who this guy is? I'll give you till the end of my intro and let me know in the comments down below, who do you think is this guy who ruled India but is more famous, more loved in Uzbekistan? Hi, my name is Misha and welcome to Tarihi Tales. Here we try really hard to give you guys accurate historical knowledge from accredited sources. And if you like this channel and if you want to help us grow, we need all the help in the world at the moment, and there are multiple ways you can help out. You can contribute by becoming a paid member on our Patreon, or you can join this channel and become a paid member. You can join in the link given in the description box. I'll also post a link up here. If you're in Pakistan, if you want to help out, you can also contribute on the numbers provided on the screen. Other than these, if monetary contribution is not possible, you can also help out a lot by liking, sharing, subscribing, and commenting on these videos. Thank you. So the emperor I'm talking about is ZAHIRUDDIN Muhammad Babur. ZAHIRUDDIN Babur, the founder of the Mughal Empire, is celebrated in Uzbekistan for a number of reasons. First of all, birthplace and heritage. We all know that Babur is not native to India, right? He was actually born in 1483 in an area called Andijan, which is in the Fergana Valley in modern-day Uzbekistan. Babur's early life and his legacy are deeply rooted within that region. Babur's father was actually the ruler of Fergana when Babur was born, and he was a crown prince. It's a very fascinating story as to how he got from there all the way to ruling India, and I do plan on making a video about that. If you guys are interested, let me know in the comments below and then maybe I'll hurry up. But the real reason that Babur is so heavily loved in Uzbekistan is because he did something extraordinary. Yes, he founded the Mughal Empire, but other than that, his entire life, Babur's life has been very fascinating. And his entire life, he's kept a kind of a diary. And what's interesting is that within that diary, which is called the Baburnama, Babur has written his own experiences himself. Now, with most kings and with most empires, it's people in the royal court that are writing these histories. They're the ones that kind of noting everything down, like Akbarnama and all. They're written by other people, not by Akbar himself. But with Baburnama, Babur has written it himself, and it's written in such a raw form that historians today find it an invaluable insight into history, into that time period. And Babur has also added like all these details about his life, which you wonder like, who was he thinking is going to read this? But it's very fascinating. And the most fascinating thing is that within the Baburnama, Babur also ends up writing a lot of poetry, his own poetry. And the poetry is apparently very, very good. And it's written in the language Chagatai Turkic, which is also widely understood in Uzbekistan. So Babur's poetry is why the people there know about him so much. They know verses from his poetry. Like I've heard from even my relatives who've been there that if you talk about ZAHIRUDDIN Muhammad Babur, they know about him and they immediately recite a verse. Like, like you and I maybe would recite Iqbal or some famous poet from South Asia. So Babur is very, very well known there. His work wasn't only in Chagatai Turkic, it was also in Persian as well. His work included things like rubaiyat and ghazals. His poetry often reflected things like love, longing, and nostalgia for his homeland. I'll give you an example of one of his verses, and here's a translation below in English. My beloved with body like a cypress is where. My sweetheart with lips like a flower bud is where. There are 100 beauties with bloody tears, but she who with flower face is where. She who lights my eyes at dark nights, that sunshine of my soul is where. Now, we all know, like if you're bilingual, we all understand that once you translate a verse into another language, it does kind of lose its beauty. But with this, even though I don't know Tightay Turkic, I still can see that it must be a beautiful verse. And I thoroughly understand that I'm not able to capture the essence of it because I don't know that particular language. Well, now you may think, well, okay, fine, he's a poet, but how can you say that people in Uzbekistan love him so much or that he's so famous over there? Well, have a look at the different ways that they've kind of tried to celebrate him. And I'll share a few with you guys. In Uzbekistan, there are several monuments dedicated to Babur. Firstly, the Babur Memorial Park and House Museum in Andijan. The Babur Memorial Park is located 7 kilometers from Andijan, and as a tribute to Babur, the memorial park was opened on Bogishamol Hill, and land there was brought from Agra, where the ruler died, and also from Kabul, where he was later buried. There's even significance in why this specific hill was chosen for this memorial park, because Babur actually mentions it within the Baburnama. Babur mentioned that on top of this mountain, there was a very picturesque garden during his childhood with a khujra and an evian, which was a place where he loved to walk. And before Babur left Fargana forever, he actually came to this mountain to say his final goodbyes. So there's a huge significance as to why this specific mountain was chosen for the memorial park. It was actually centuries later, in 1993, that a symbolic tomb was kind of created in this area in honor of Babur. The tomb was made out of marble. A museum has also been built in the park where objects and rare things from Babur's life are on display. The museum also hosts a large collection of works not only by Babur but also by his descendants, some of whom had his poetic talents, but not everybody. Among the rare copies, you can also see diplomatic gifts and rare copies and things which Babur and his descendants kind of used as a way to keep in touch with Babur's homeland in Fargana. They would basically send things back and forth to Central Asian Khans, and it's a collection of the things that Babur and his descendants had sent. Now, another monument that is dedicated to Babur is the statue of Babur in Andijan. A bronze statue of Babur riding a horse is located in one of the central squares of Andijan, and the more fascinating thing is that the central square is actually also called Babur Square, and it's a very popular spot for tourists and locals alike. And if you notice, in the sculpture, Babur's right hand is placed on his chest, which kind of symbolizes his love and longing for his people and his home. Now, when we look at annual holidays, Babur's birthday was basically on the 14th of February, and we know that that coincides with a modern holiday, which is followed by the West, Valentine's Day. It's not really a holiday, but it's a day people celebrate. There's a very interesting incident that took place regarding Valentine's Day itself and Babur's birthday in Uzbekistan. There was basically a push a couple of years ago in Uzbekistan to kind of not follow Western culture very blindly. And within that kind of push, they also decided that, okay, we're going to turn Valentine's Day into Babur Day because that is Babur's birthday. And this is what the official actually said. So we're turning February 14th into Babur Day, a day of courtly love and faithfulness. It went on to say, we are not against love, not against sweethearts or exchanging gifts on this day. This is all about the symbols that are used on the occasion. And then the official quoted one of Babur's lines and he said, when I bend down to the earth to kiss her foot, I feel my head is in the heavens. I don't know any other poet who glorified women and raised themes of lovesickness, homesickness, and fidelity so evocatively as Babur. It's safe to say that not everybody in Uzbekistan was thrilled by such announcements or by such pushes by the government. But it does go on to show that how much of a revered figure Babur is in Uzbekistan. And it's something which is sad that they don't find that in the area that they actually ruled and called their home for the next 3 to 4 centuries, which is India. This is very common with people throughout the subcontinent that the British have effectively divided and ruled us so badly, and driven us along extremist religious lines so badly that even today we're unable to remove those lenses from our eyes. In all the videos where I talk about Ranjit Singh, people would say things like, oh, he killed so many Muslims, he did this, he did that. And where I talk about the Mughals, people would say I would see so many Hindus or other religious minorities talking about, oh, well, they're so bad, they were so vile, this and that, they killed so many, this and that. But the thing is, if you look at any of the rulers, initially, of course, within the power struggle, there is some killing. But eventually, both examples I'm talking about in this video, they actually helped rebuild and did a lot for all the religious people within their domains. But we don't talk about that because that's something that the British have made sure we don't talk about and kind of erase from our collective history. And I do plan on making some videos about those things as well in the future. For now, I wish I could really understand Babur's poetry and kind of experience all the things that he's had to say. And I know that there are some popular singers who also have songs and albums in Uzbekistan based on Babur's poetry. And if anybody from that area is watching this video, feel free to let us know, drop some links in the comments so we can all go and hear these songs and hear what it even sounded like. So there we go. That is how and why a ruler of India was actually loved more in another nation. And with that, I will see you guys next time. Bye.